Oh, hello. Today we are here to wrap up my reading for November, and you've actually seen most of what I've read in November because I did 2 reading vlogs. I did one with books that were gifted to me and one with me trying to find a 5-star mystery. So that constituted most of my reading. That was 12 books, and I read a total of 18, so I really only have 6 books that I need to get into detail with you guys about. I'll direct you to those videos to see the full rundown, but I will say that of my gifted books, my favorite and the one I would most recommend to you is of Monsters and Mainframes by Barbara Truelove. This is a sci-fi thriller, I think is fair to say, kind of like a mystery thriller, what's going on kind of plot. That I really enjoyed. So that from this pile would be my winner. And then from my mystery pile of books, I did find a new favorite in that video, but I feel like it would spoil it if I tell you what it is or what books. So just go watch that video if you want to see my thoughts. I try my very best to always list in the description all the books that I talk about. So I'll have those books listed in the description if you want to see which books are included. And then I don't want to spoil for you which one ends up being the 4.5 or 5-star. So yeah, so that's 12 books right there that I'm not going to talk to you guys about, but I will talk to you about my other books that I read. So I read 3 ebooks from the library, and I have 3 physically, so let's start with my library books. First, I read the final book in the Garden trilogy from Nora Roberts, which was Red Lily. I would say it's definitely the weakest of the 3. The concept of this is it's a house that is being haunted, so it is a paranora, because it does have a paranormal element to it. And then the couple that we've kind of been watching dance around each other for the last few books is finally getting together. I think that it was kind of anticlimactic because we knew they were, like, their romance just felt really repetitive and, like, drawn out. It didn't really make sense why they just weren't getting together. And then that meant that a lot more of the book was the paranormal element, which is my least favorite part of a Nora Roberts book like this. So for me, this just wasn't as strong as the others. So I'd give it like a 3. I enjoyed it. I liked seeing the resolution. But I think it actually would have been better as a novella. Like, I kind of wish it had been a novella or like a category romance, because I just think there wasn't enough meat for the bone. But overall, I did enjoy that trilogy, not as much as some of the other trilogies that are like it. I'd say the closest read-alike I've encountered with it so far would be the In Boonesboro trilogy, which I liked far better. So, but I did finish that trilogy, so that was exciting. And then what else? Oh, I read A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie. This is a part of the buddy read that Leanna and I have had going for the last year or so, where I'm reading through the rest of the World of the First Law books, and she is rereading them for the umpteenth time since they are her favorite. And this, A Little Hatred, is the first book in the final trilogy that's been released so far, and it was really good. It was a different kind of vibe and a kind of story than what we had seen previously, because so it's sort of like the next gen. So it's the kind of next generation after the original trilogy. And we're seeing, you know, Glocka's daughter and what is his name? Jezel's son, and just we're seeing all these people's kids, and we're seeing them again, but like older, and with the politics having moved on and technology having made a big step forward. So that was really interesting. There seems like there's going to be more overt magic in this one. There's a character called Rika who has more just like direct magic. The books up until now have been very, I would say like they're typical, like low magic, typical grimdark, which is often low magic, kind of like, I mean, Robin Hobb's series, I think the Realm of the Elderlings is pretty low magic, all things considered. The a Game of Thrones series from George R.R. Martin is relatively low magic, and I would say that Joe Abercrombie's First Law series is also relatively low magic. So it was cool to see, you know, a little bit more of that. Yeah, and there was some interesting, it was just interesting to see where the series is going. I gave it 4 stars. I typically give Joe Abercrombie books 4 stars, but I would say as a whole, this is one of my favorite series I've ever read. I'm really enjoying it. It's just book to book. It's hard to pick one that like really stands out, except for 1 or 2 here and there. But yeah, it was very enjoyable and also very much rewarded having read everything up till then, because there was one relationship developing in particular that if you have read the original trilogy and some of the books since then, you're like, oh no, this is bad. This is really bad and they don't understand why. So waiting for that to pay off was really delicious. Yeah, it was enjoyable. I am looking forward to seeing where the series goes because, like I said, it was definitely a big change, I feel like, from the previous books, but not an unwelcome one. So I think we're going to probably read the next book in January. So yeah, I should be done with that by the first quarter of next year, which is sad but also exciting. And much like Robin Hobb, I see why Lana gets in these series, these like rereading cycles, because once you know everything, it definitely makes you want to go back and like see how these things were planted early on. So who knows, maybe I'll also get in that cycle. And then the other thing I got from the library was the Gingerbread Cafe, I think is what it was called. It is the latest release from Laurie Gilmore in her Pumpkin Spice Cafe cozy contemporary romance series. I've been on hold for it at the library for a long time, so I was like, okay, well, I got it. Now's my chance. I gotta read it while I got it. Yeah, I thought it was good. It's a second chance romance, which is always a little bit of a hard sell for me. So trope-wise, this wasn't my favorite. It's also sort of like lovers to enemies to lovers. Again, not my favorite trope set, but I think people who like that plot would probably like this book better than I did. I still gave it 3 stars. It's just such a weird blend of tone of like a Hallmark movie where you see them going to Pound Town. It's just, I think I continue to be delighted by that juxtaposition of vibe, because I haven't read a ton of that. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine, but not my favorite. I definitely preferred the first one I read. I will say I have the Christmas one in my December reading plans because it's Christmas. So we'll see how that one does. If I like it better than the Gingerbread one, I'll probably keep reading them as the tropes appeal to me. And if not, I might just leave it there. But yeah. So those were all my library reads. In terms of what I read, all of these are from authors that I have loved before, and I had some interesting mixed results. So first, I did read the new release from Travis Baldree in the Legends and Lattes series, which is Brigands and Bread Knives. And I think that this was an interesting departure for him. This book has way more plot in it than either of the previous 2 books have. So I know for some people that's probably a good thing. For other people, it's not what they want. For me, I was okay with it. Like, I'm kind of fine with how much plot there was. But I did note it as a departure from the original couple of books. And I think that this was a really sweet, or like a really, maybe sweet's not the right word, poignant theme to explore, which is we have our main character who we meet in the prequel book, who is a bookseller, and she is uprooting her life to come open up a bookshop next to the Legends and Latte cafe that opens in the original book. Viv is like really excited to have her there. She's an old friend, and she like paves the way to make this perfect, setup for her. And once it opens, she just has a panic attack because she realizes like, no, I moved here and did this because I was depressed, and like, I'm still depressed. and still restless and still not feeling fulfilled. And so she kind of gets drunk and happens into this adventure. And I think that was like a really poignant idea of you know, that sometimes what you used to love, you may not love the same way. Things that once were really good for you and life-giving might stop being that. And that is a hard thing, I think, to accept sometimes. So I really liked thematically what this book did. I would say I didn't like this quite as much as I did the original one, but I'll give it 4 stars. I would say I felt similarly about this to the prequel, which is like, this is good. I enjoyed it. I like his writing and his kind of sensibility and tone. It hasn't matched the original magic of the first book for me, but I enjoyed this as a fantasy road trip rompy kind of book, with stakes, but not incredibly high stakes. And still kind of that core of like found family and that kind of cozy vibe. I will say, she does have a pet who she leaves behind when she goes. And I know that upsets some people and it is anxiety inducing. So just know that, that does happen. And this is still a cozy book. Like, you don't have to be worried. Like, don't worry about that, I guess, basically. So yeah, anyway, I thought that this was a worthy entry in the series and definitely, you know, changing things up, which honestly I think is probably a good sign. That means he can do more than just one thing. So I think that's good. I also read, I'll tease you that we're going to end with Ilona Andrews, but I also read Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. This I was disappointed in, I'm not gonna lie. I keep chasing the high of Wrong Place, Wrong Time, and this feels like a blend between Wrong Place, Wrong Time and that other kidnapping one I read from her. So I don't know. It opens with our main character, her husband like leaves suddenly, and she's like worried he's left her out of nowhere just based on this weird note he leaves her, his famous last words. And then it turns out that he's like taken hostages and I think killed them. If that sounds right. It's been a couple weeks and this wasn't that memorable. Spoilers for my thoughts here. And so she's like devastated, doesn't understand what's going on. And then we have like a jump forward in time where then things are more complicated than kind of what met the eye. It was fine. It was well, I think that she's a good writer. It just was kind of slow and it just didn't, it seemed like she's treading over the same ideas a lot in her books. And I just don't think she's done it as well as Wrong Place, Wrong Time. So I think I might have to just make her more of a library book author for me, because I think I'm chasing maybe a high that is not consistent from her. So yeah, you know, good, if you're looking for like a good serviceable thriller with some interesting progression in it, you know, I think this is a perfectly enjoyable book. I'm not like, I didn't think it was bad. I gave it 3.5 stars, but it's just not, I know what she can do and it's not what she can do. So, okay, and then the last book that you have not seen in a vlog already is The Inheritance by Ilona Andrews. Now, my original intention was I was going to make a full weekend out of reading this and the arc of This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me, which is the beginning of a new series coming out from Tor from Ilona Andrews, but I realized I wanted to save that as my Christmas book, so I'm going to make that my Christmas Day read. But this is the start of a new self-pubbed series from them. And it is I would describe this as a sci-fi D&D dungeon crawl. Like, it has these things called talents that are basically D&D classes. Like, there's rangers, there's tanks, there's pulse carvers, there's hybrid blades. Like, it's all these very D&D type classes that are called talents. And these talents emerged after this alien invasion of Earth, where they open up these portals, and if you're in proximity to one of these portals, over time you can develop these talents. Like, it changes your DNA or whatever. And just some of the terminology about like bringing people back up and like an aura, like, I don't know. It just, I was like, I feel like I'm watching Dimension 20 right now. This is great. I love this. So that's kind of the vibe. Our main character is a single mom. Her husband left her because he couldn't handle the changes that happen. So she's got 2 kids at home, and she's this very rare talent where she can basically look at anything and know what it's made out of. So she's in this portal doing, like, helping this guild that's gonna mine for stuff in the portal before they close it down. Something goes wrong and she gets abandoned and she has to figure out how to survive, and things kind of progress from there. I will say I gave this 4 stars because I think this is I think the world is cool. I like the premise of this. I'm into the characters. I think this suffered from cutting back and forth between her point of view in this, like, trapped in the portal with this very amazing dog named Bear. He's German Shepherd. She's so great. I love her animal companion in this. And then it's cutting to the outside world that thinks she's dead and kind of like what's happening. I think that kind of cut some of the tension down. I think that this actually, and I don't know if this is how this was self-pubbed originally on their website because it was originally a serialized story. I think this would have been more effective if it had been all her story break, all the outside world story, and then, like, the ending is those 2 stories coming together. That's, I think, would have been a more satisfying structure for this story. But I'm very excited to see where the series goes. I think it's just a lot of what Ilona Andrews does really well, and I liked the writing in this one better than I have in the last couple self-pub books that I've read from them. So I was excited about that. So really into this. It also has beautiful illustrations in it. Also, I wish my butt looked like that when I hope it does by the time I'm in my mid-40s. So anyway, yeah, really enjoyed. And that, I think, will do it for now. You've got a lot of end of the year content coming from me, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, hit the bell, like, take care of yourself, and I'll just talk to you guys soon. Bye!